I'm Katey Whitesell, a graduate student at Fort Hays State University. For my Theories of Exceptionalities and Diversity class, I was assigned to do 20 hours of observations. Having the chance to get into other teachers' classrooms gives me the opportunity to see what others are doing and the strategies that work best for them. This experience reinforced my thoughts on the importance of a relationship between the teacher and the students. It gave me great ideas to use for my classroom and for any future classrooms that I might teach in. While observing the elementary classroom for 6 hours, I learned that if I'm ever teaching special education to elementary students, I need to make sure that my classroom is not too colorful and distracting. Too many posters, decorations, and colors can cause the students with disabilities to become overstimulated. Sometimes when students speak out of turn, it's better to ignore the behavior. During my observations, 2 students would regularly speak out of turn, and the teacher would not acknowledge the student unless he raised his hand. The teacher told me that when she redirects the student, it only encourages the behavior. The main takeaway I got from observing at the elementary level was the idea to have the students assess their own learning. Giving the students this responsibility helps to give them ownership of their education. It gives them pride and motivation. The middle school classroom was drastically different from the elementary and high school classrooms I observed. Immediately, I could tell the atmosphere was different. It seemed tense and stressful. The students were constantly in and out of crisis for one reason or another. One common reason was when a student would get a grade that they didn't like. The students would immediately break down and have to be escorted out of the classroom. I noticed that the teacher didn't seem to have a strong relationship with her students. From this, I learned that sometimes the focus doesn't need to be solely on education, but on the student's mental and emotional needs. Because this is an elementary classroom in an alternative school, the focus may be a bit different than it would be in a regular middle school. Creating a relationship, taking an interest in your students, and making sure that they feel safe is the first concern in this setting. These students need more than extra support in math or reading. They need support emotionally. During my observations at the high school level, the students' desks were set up in rows. Following the observations, I had a chance to speak with the teacher one-on-one. I asked what the reasoning was behind the desks being set up in rows, and she explained that at first she started with flexible seating and groups of seating. Then she went to a seating chart within the same framework, and finally she went to rows. While she dislikes the desks being set up in rows, the group of students that she has this year work best in this formation. It's not always about what the teachers prefer. It's about what works with the kids that you have. Each year brings a new group of students, and each new group has different needs. The biggest takeaway from the 20 hours of observations was how important it is to create a relationship with my students, especially students with special needs. Many students come from broken homes and they crave the attention a teacher can give them, whether it's negative or positive. Creating a relationship with my students creates respect and a mutual agreement that we will work for each other. I plan to use what I've learned from this experience by being flexible and understanding. I want my students to know that they always come first. I teach in a high school at an alternative school where I observed the elementary and middle school classrooms. This was helpful for me because I got the chance to see how the teacher works with the recovery specialists and how they work with different age groups. I also plan to have my students assess their own learning. I feel at the high school level this is especially important. These students are getting ready to graduate and start their lives after high school. That looks different for each student, but giving them the chance to take part in their own learning might give them that extra motivation they need to finish their high school years. In conclusion, this experience gave me some great ideas to incorporate into my classroom or any future classrooms that I might teach. Observing another classroom is a great way to see what others are doing and what strategies they're using. Seeing another classroom isn't just beneficial for new teachers, it's valuable for an experienced teacher as well. As I continue to teach, I want to get into more classrooms so I can learn from others about what works and what doesn't.